What's happening, everybody? It's Snotrag, and man, oh man, am I just so amazed at what's happening. First off, I can't thank everyone enough for liking, commenting, and sharing the Splinter Cell Remake video I made a few months back. And guys, the view counter is not stopping. The video continues to grow and bring more people who love the series just as much, if not more than me, into the comment section. What brings us to this video in particular is, I mentioned in my older video about the Sam Fisher Legacy Collection. For those that are lost as to what that is, it's pretty much Ubisoft going back and remastering all of the Splinter Cell games, optimizing them for modern consoles and PC, including all the DLC missions and bonus weapons, and putting them into one package. This is an idea that I think Ubisoft shouldn't really sleep on, because the market for stealth games is still there. Even Konami is cashing in on this opportunity by remastering all the Metal Gear Solid games and releasing them for all current platforms. This Volume 1 bundle will be available near the end of this month. However, in this video, I will be bringing up the Splinter Cell Remake once again in terms of what I would like in the game, and probably what everybody else in the community would like also. Let's jump in. In 2002, we were introduced to the iconic Sam Fisher. We all know and love him as the stealthy, methodical ghost that he is, but when the game was first launched, we knew very little about him. Other than being a well-trained former member of the US Navy SEALs, there was still little we actually knew about Sam. We know about his daughter Sarah, but what about his wife, Mrs. Fisher? In the Splinter Cell Wikipedia, Sam had a steamy relationship with an intel specialist named Reagan Burns. The two of them eventually conceived Sarah and then married. Apparently though, the relationship between them fell apart due to them both having jobs as super secret squirrels, and divorced after only 2 or 3 years of marriage. Sam would of course keep a decent relationship with Reagan because of them both having dual custody of Sarah. Tragically though, when Sarah was around 13 years old, Reagan passed away from ovarian cancer. Sam stepped up to the plate and took full custody of Sarah a few years before being recruited to 3rd Echelon Splinter Cell program. That's another thing. What about 1st and 2nd Echelon? The Splinter Cell Wikipedia explained that Echelon was formed during the Cold War, but what would cause this NSA branch to have 3 different iterations of itself? Maybe this was the result of technology evolving and information and intelligence gathering required more drastic measures. If Ubisoft could flesh out these areas of the game, it would definitely be a bonus for the story's narrative, keeping the player engaged and progressing through the game, and having a better emotional connection with Sam. Not to mention Sarah having a little more character development and a reason for the player to care about her also. I keep bringing her up because she is a very important character in the series, but also to Sam. Michael Ironside was actually the one responsible for the creation of Sarah Fisher as a character in the series to begin with. When Ubisoft approached Ironside to take the role of Sam, he turned it down, saying that there was no organics to the character in terms of emotion, and he didn't want Sam to have any T-800 vibes, and I'd have to agree with him. Ubisoft listened to him, and Sarah was the correct answer. There already is a huge saturation of action commando type protagonists in video games where the character is the typical gung-ho, get in there and kill them all type we have all seen before, and it was Ironside who wanted to change that dynamic, and it actually works. In the remake, I pray they flesh out Sam's backstory, make the players have a more emotional connection with Sam and his family, and give Sarah a little more time in the spotlight, especially since she becomes the focal point in Splinter Cell Conviction, and that will leave a bigger impact with fans of the series, both new and old. The article I read online about Ubisoft rewriting the story for a modern audience doesn't really have me all that concerned. As long as they stay true to its roots and overhaul it in the places it deserves, the remake in the terms of story could end up being better than the original. If people are lost, I'll refresh your memory a bit. In 2004, the country of Georgia had its president assassinated in some sort of coup, and billionaire Combine Nicolades placed himself in power as the new president of the country. He gained popularity among the people of Georgia by swearing economic stability and strengthening relationships with the West, and also ushered in the country's technological advancement. The US and its allies were skeptical about his intentions with his new political power, and this suspicion they had was pushed further when CIA agent Alice Madison, who was a mole embedded in Nicolades' presidential cabinet, disappears without a trace. A few days later, the agency sends agent Robert Blaustein to find her, and he goes missing too. This incident is why 3rd Echelon deploys Sam into Tbilisi, Georgia, where agent Blaustein's safe house is located. Sam finds both Blaustein and Madison are dead, and the Georgian government is somehow involved. Later, Sam discovers that the reason Madison and Blaustein were killed is because they found actionable intelligence that showed that somehow Nicolades was able to send in large amounts of military forces into the neighboring country of Azerbaijan. This invasion went totally under Echelon's radar, leaving Lambert and the rest of Sam's crew baffled as to how Nicolades was able to pull this off. With Nicolades finally exposed as the monster he truly is, he goes into hiding, and Sam has to play catch up to find and stop him from whatever he plans next. In terms of where they can fix the story, Ubisoft should explain what Nicolades' motive was. Something must have happened to him to hate America and its ideals in order to go full-blown war criminal? Was he the one responsible for the assassination of the former president? And how exactly did he place himself in power? With money because of his billionaire status? Or did he have friends who helped make it happen? It's not like he woke up one day and said, I'm about to go on a killing spree and screw with America in the process. He should definitely have a more flushed and sensible character development for the player to identify him as the real antagonist and give the players motivation to not necessarily hate, but give them a sense of justice to express through Sam to put an end to his evil agenda. The story goes even further with cyber and information warfare that's pretty relevant today in the real world. There are so many things that were overlooked in the original's narrative that I believe Ubisoft should address in order to make the players engage with the story and make them wanting more with continuous play. Keep in mind this is a remake, but I hope that Ubisoft doesn't deviate too far from the original story and fix it in the right places. A progression system in the remake can be a good thing, but at the same time be very controversial. The system has to be done right in order for it to fit perfectly into the atmosphere of the game. What do I mean by a progression system? If any diehard fans of the games like me remember, the earliest form of a progression system made its way into Splinter Cell Double Agent. In that game, the stealthier you were, i.e. getting a decent stealth ranking, it rewarded the player with a new kind of gadget that Sam could use in further missions. However, this reward system was hindered due to Sam being unable to access those new gadgets until he was no longer confined inside the JBA hideout. Rewarding players for being stealthy and having access to new gear can bring something new to the remake. Of course, these gadgets will be locked behind certain criteria, but it will make players want to go back and replay missions, setting a goal for the player to not only beat that level in particular, but unlocking said gadget will give them a better advantage when they go on to play the next level of the game. I have said countless times in my Splinter Cell walkthrough videos that it made me frustrated that Sam wasn't able to have access to the camera jammer until near the final missions of the game. Having earlier access to that gadget in particular would have been very useful for ghosting those levels instead of whipping out the 5.7 or the F2000 and shooting out the cameras. Speaking of shooting, I have also mentioned in my walkthroughs of Splinter Cell that accuracy is absolute balls. I can't really fault Ubisoft for that back then because again the game was centered around stealth, not running and gunning. I say that knowing that there are several scripted moments of the game where a gunfight is almost impossible to avoid, and that accuracy without a doubt hindered players' ability to get out of them unscathed. Obviously Ubisoft will address that with more modern controls and gunplay, but why not have the laser sight for the 5.7 be a gadget you can unlock after completing the training mission? The laser sight made an appearance in Pandora Tomorrow, but was never seen again until Conviction and Blacklist came about. Maybe to mitigate that problem, Ubisoft can throw in the ability to switch from third person to first person view while aiming down the sights of certain weapons. They did this with the F2000 scope, but show the pistol some love too. Now what do I mean by gadgets locked behind criteria? Well, let's say you want the sticky camera to have a diversion upgrade into it. Keep in mind, in the first Splinter Cell, you had the sticky camera and a separate camera called the diversion camera. But what if you could combine those two, make it into one camera like how it was done in Chaos Theory and beyond? To unlock said upgrade, maybe beat the first mission without getting caught, having a limited number of non-lethal takedowns, and complete side objectives also. Side missions were a thing in Chaos Theory for a 100% stealth rank. Have that returned for the remake. This kind of system and idea will give players a reason to keep playing the game over and over, making replayability endless with this kind of system. One thing about linear games of the past that developers can learn from today is keeping the same formula but upgrading it to the max. What do I mean by this? Sure, keep the remake linear like its predecessor, but do it better. The original Splinter Cell level designs were nothing to shake a stick at when it first came out back in 2002, but with the remake, adding more depth and alternate paths to complete missions is something I want to see. Giving players options of what path to take to complete missions allows more freedom and gameplay while simultaneously keeping the game linear without compromising the integrity of the story. Of course, these new paths for infiltration should come with a bigger challenge for players to get by. Bigger challenges means having to think on your toes and make quick, decisive actions to avoid a chaotic outcome. This increases the tension and the thrill of sneaking by heavily guarded areas and also reminding us that you, as the player, are Sam Fisher. Expanding the levels like this means that side or bonus objectives can be done, and would also give Ubisoft the excuse to expand upon the Splinter Cell universe in terms of lore and creating a more believable living environment for the players to be absorbed into. Interacting with the environment was a game changer when Splinter Cell came out. Being able to shoot out lights to create dark areas for you to hide in was almost unheard of back then. Creating shadows was useful to conceal yourself from the enemy and hiding bodies from patrols, but with the remake they can add more things for the player to interact with. Hiding bodies, for example, was pretty bland because you can only hide them in the dark and pray that no passing guard would find them and sound the alarm. Why not add more hiding spots for Sam to utilize to hide himself and bodies? Expanding the levels, overhauling the ability to interact with things in the environment, and offering more stealthy goodness would be a win for this remake and would definitely set it itself apart from the original. I said it once in my older video and I will say it again. Ubisoft, No one wants an RPG-styled Splinter Cell. I say again, no one. Metal Gear Survive will always be my best example of no one wanted it and no one will ever talk about it. And yet, here I am bringing up that dumpster fire of a game once again. Splinter Cell has its own identity and should not fall victim to another IP identity crisis whatsoever. I believe the entire fan base will lose their minds if we even discover a remote trace of RPG elements in this remake. How can you justify that a well-trained, lethal SIGINT ninja such as Sam Fisher doesn't have a high enough skill level to knock out or kill an enemy combatant that most definitely has little to no training compared to the GOAT that is Sam Fisher? We already have a market oversaturated with RPG games, and it might be me, but I for one have grown tired of games like that flooding the scene. Splinter Cell was a game that grounded itself in reality and had no reason to implement RPG elements to captivate an audience. A prime example of that would be Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It didn't feel like Ghost Recon anymore, and to further prove my point, Ubisoft made a patch in that game to give you the ability to turn off all the RPG garbage. Audiences are craving more immersion, and Ubisoft should take that very seriously. I'm not telling Ubisoft to go out there and create one of the greatest remakes of all time. All I'm saying is that Splinter Cell has been sitting idle for far too long, and that the developers have had plenty of time to make sure that they take this game and send it down the right path. It's time for Sam Fisher to come out of the shadows of hiatus and make a comeback that fans have been waiting for over a decade. Do not disappoint us. Do not make the same mistake with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and do not, for the love of God, turn Splinter Cell into what Assassin's Creed has become.
Okay. I'm going to stay here and enjoy the view.
Didn't anyone ever tell you that spelunking is dangerous?
Oh no! You are going to kill me, right?
Only if you say the word monkey. Now tell me something I want to know.
Ammunition and medical supplies. Check around inside the keep. They have tons of stuff in there.
Some of you guys are real helpful. Why do you have to work for the bad guys?
You're the American oppressor. You're the bad guy.
Are you gonna say monkey?
What? No!
Then this conversation is over.
When all is said and done, we cannot accept Sam Fisher's proper return without the man who brought him to life. The one, the only, Michael Ironside himself has to be on board with making a triumphant return as Sam. A video on YouTube about his cameo in Ghost Recon Wildlands said it all.
So how was it stepping back into Sam Fisher's shoes?
I never left. I am Sam Fisher. It is, I don't know how many times I've told this story, but one of the first times that I was flying to Europe after the first or second game, I think it was, and I ordered a cup of tea in the airplane, and all of a sudden I heard this, Sam. And I turned around and I went, oh no, I'm Michael Ironside. And they said, Sam Fisher. And there was this man standing in his vest and his tie was undone, fairly business-looking fellow. And I said, oh yeah, I guess, yeah, I am Sam Fisher. And he started to cry, he got emotional. And he said, I want to thank you for finding a way for me to communicate with my son. Yeah. And that was one of the first times I realized about the social kind of ethical implications of these games and stuff.
Now look me in the eye and tell me no one got chills or a little teary-eyed. Here is an actor who helped mold the character we are so familiar with, have such an emotional and deep understanding of that character that no other actor can comprehend. Addendum. Say what you will about Eric Johnson's performance as Sam in Splinter Cell Blacklist, but let me cook here a little. The way I looked at this recasting was, it's like getting another James Bond. It's the same character fans know and love, just a different actor taking the helm. But there was more than met the eye with Eric Johnson taking over as Sam. Michael Ironside had to step away from Splinter Cell Blacklist because he was having a battle with cancer, and I for one would prioritize my health over a project. Even though Ironside was fighting cancer, he had such devotion to the character as Sam, he worked behind the scenes of Blacklist to give Johnson some pointers for embracing the character. I can envision the teaser of this remake in my head right now. A silhouette emerges from the shadows, followed by the three glowing lenses of the trifocal goggles, and Ironside saying a badass one-liner. Confirmation that he is on board the project of that kind of scale would have the internet so broken it'll take grit, spit, and a whole lot of duct tape to get the servers going again. It's not only Ironside I want back, I want the whole cast to be reunited for this project. Dawn Jordan as Lambert and Claudia Bessa as Anna Grimm's daughter. Having the trio back for the remake would be the icing on the cake and would mean the world to all of us fans for their return after so long. Having Lambert and Anna's soothing yet stern voices talking in our heads again would hit us with so much nostalgia, it's like being back in the good old days in Splinter Cell. I don't think there is anything more that I would want with this remake than having these actors come back and give us the performance we, the fans, and myself have been longing for. Make it happen, Ubisoft. Let's talk about the Sam Fisher Legacy Collection. This idea that I had and discussed in my older video was one of the topics in the comments section that blew up like wildfire. Having all the games remastered and optimized for all current platforms to keep fans occupied while the remake is being developed will make time fly out the window until Ubisoft is ready to release it, and also making sure that fans will be hungry for more things Splinter Cell. Konami, once again, is utilizing this idea with giving us the Metal Gear Solid Collection to keep fans busy until Metal Gear Solid Delta is ready to drop. Countless people would want this bundle for themselves, and it would introduce new fans to the series and get them on board the hype train for the remake, just like the old fans like myself are. Not to mention Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow and Double Agent are currently unplayable on the PC, which saddens me and countless others. We can't forget about the PlayStation homies also, since the Splinter Cell HD trilogy is not even available for them to play on the PlayStation market. This bundle, like the Metal Gear Solid remaster, should be accessible to everyone. Everyone has the God-given right to enjoy this franchise. The fact that Konami has awakened and smelled the roses with that kind of potential should also be applicable to Splinter Cell. Now, as for the future of Splinter Cell, a lot of people have been asking why a remake for the first game and not another continuation from where Blacklist left off. I think Ubisoft is trying to mirror what Capcom has done lately with the Resident Evil franchise, and are doing remakes to see if the consumer appetite for stealth games is still there. Trust me, Ubisoft, it still is. Now, for a Splinter Cell 7, they would have to change a lot of elements to that story. I'm going to be borrowing an idea that my boy, Snoozy the Sage, brought up in his video. Link for that in the description. In his video, he had the wild idea of retiring Sam Fisher and having him be the new iteration of Lambert. Sam would still be in command of 4th Echelon, but who would be his boots on the ground? If anyone remembers Agent Kestrel, it was discovered that he survived from getting shot by Andre Coben in the co-op campaign of Splinter Cell Conviction. In the Isaac Briggs missions in Blacklist, Sam and Briggs rescue him from captivity from his agency Voron. There's even a deleted scene somewhere on YouTube of Sam recruiting Kestrel to join his team. This would give us a character we are familiar with and keeping the identity of Splinter Cell in check. But who would be Kestrel's partner? Obviously not Coben, because we all know how well that turned out. But what if I told you that a character that has been with us since the first game made a huge leap and followed in her father's footsteps? That's right, Sarah Fisher.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
What did he say?
In the recent entry of the Splinter Cell novels, Splinter Cell Firewall, Sarah Fisher has come out of the shadows of being a background character and is a member of her father's team. This would be huge for all of us fans wanting something new but keeping it Splinter Cell. And who wouldn't want to see Sarah Fisher herself continuing her father's legacy but also making her own in the process? That is a direction that I think old fans and modern audiences would want for a future installment in the series. Food for thought, Ubisoft. My closing statements to this video: there are so many other things that I haven't covered in this video that I would like to have make an appearance in the remake and also for another future installment to the series. I could write a friggin' thesis on the whole thing, but you guys have stuck with this video so far, I don't want to keep you all here for 3+ days. To those who have watched this video, thank you for sticking with it, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to support me on my adventures with YouTube. Make sure you hit the bell icon too, so that way you can stay up to date on other videos that I will post in the future. To my subscribers, you guys are the absolute best for making me want to keep going. In fact, another special shout out to my man, Legendary Savage Gamer, for making these amazing conceptual photos of the Sam Fisher Legacy Collection. I'll tell you what, seeing these just felt like that a Ubi developer came right at me to make my dream come true. But saying that just now, the Sam Fisher Legacy Collection and my ideas for the remake aren't necessarily my dream anymore. It belongs to everyone who watches my videos and agree and comment to this video to have their voices heard also. I can't thank you all enough, and please like, comment, and share so that way we can get this video out there again and start the hashtag Sam Fisher Legacy. Speaking of hashtag, go ahead and follow me on Twitter or X. Thank you, Elon. So everyone can message me and express their creative ideas on that platform and in the comment section of this video down below. Thank you all so much, and as always, stay frosty.